Hey, everybody, welcome back to another free preview, a free Patreon preview of Late Night with Fandom as Jade tries her best to completely ruin this. Um, Unbelievable. This is the type of technology night it's been. Yes, technology.
I am technology.
Anyways, we're watching Andor Season 1, Episode 6, The Eye, tonight, which is the conclusion to a little three-part storyline. We'll get Johnny's thoughts on episodes 4 and 5 when he gets in here. But Randy, I'm assuming you brushed up on 4 and 5. I know
I
I was
did.
pretty much hooked to all things Luthen.
Yeah, he definitely feels like the driving force right now. His interactions with Mon Mothma was pretty poignant, but also just seeing, shifting from Luthen, her lifestyle is just it's sad. You know what I mean? It's sad to see that for all the power she has, she's powerless at home, and I don't know. You're getting this whole idea of her being a sympathetic character, but she's plotting the rebellion against the Empire on top of it, and having to be timid when she's not really timid. It's kind of it's a nice dichotomy to see that duality of her in these past two episodes as well.
Yeah, everything they have with Mon Mothma is great. I I dig the Coruscant setting. I think people have wanted that for a long time. Just a Star Wars show that spends a decent bit of time on Coruscant and the lifestyle that comes with that, and it's definitely on full display in this show. I It's interesting, right? Because there's so many different sides to the rebellion, which is really what the show is truly about.
Mm-hmm.
How they all come together in Rogue One, but the last two episodes, 4 and 5, for me, like Skarsgård's performance there when
Oh
he's on the
yeah.
ship and he's changing characters essentially is just like that's top notch acting. That's as good as it gets.
I haven't seen him anything that I don't like. But also, it's just, yeah, I like how he balances the side that we know is basically the true Luthen versus what we see as the shop owner. Hope everybody that has seen these episodes has enjoyed the little Easter eggs that they planted throughout that shop, because I definitely have. That shop is awesome. Seeing Starkiller Sith Marauder armor is amazing. I love it. Um, but there's also some other Easter eggs I didn't even really quite catch on to until my rewatch, which is crazy to me. The fact that Cassian was on the same planet as Han during the Solo movie.
Yeah,
I caught that and went, wait a minute. So in other words, these two probably knew each
Mimbon.
other. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really cool, because that my first watch through, I never caught that. And then this time around, I'm like, wait a minute, that mud planet? That's, oh wow, okay. So those two probably knew each other. So it's definitely fun when you go back and rewatch and you catch these little things you missed the first time. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, watching this back through a second time. Um, Actually, I guess probably be my third time. Um, it it just reinforces my thought of just how far and above this is from other Star Wars series. Um, I still think there's room to sprinkle in a Jedi here or there, and I know that's not really what the show is about, but like it'd be the ultimate like we can literally do it all, right? Like, not saying we're going to see this in a season 2, but it'd be curious to get like a Jedi on the hunt episode where they're trying to aid a Jedi, and we actually get some Jedi action, but in that Andor Game of Thrones esque, on screen presentation. I think if you can nail that, then you've kind of nailed it all.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with that. especially since if memory serves me correctly, season two is going to pick up right where season one left off, and then we're going to get basically 4 arcs leading up to the start of Rogue One. So it's going to be interesting.
Johnny, I'm assuming by now you've had a chance to see episodes 4 and 5. Did you notice the big one that stood out in the shop?
The big one stood out in the shop.
The Easter egg.
The only things I really noticed were the holocrons.
Holocrons were definitely on full display there yet. Um, but right by like the main merchant desk is Starkiller's Sith Martyr or Marauder armor.
I did not notice that.
Yeah,
So that
when
was a
when when it first came out, all these articles came out going, "Hey, wait, is Star Killer going to become canon now because of the armor?" Which obviously we know that did not happen. But would it be fun if Star Killer became canon? Of course. But
or their bricks or screws though. Yeah, I know where you're going with that. Um, any prequel references all over the place in this show, front and center. What did you think about getting to spend some time with Mon Mothma and her situation?
I think it's about time we finally got to see some of Mon Mothma outside of the position we see her in the movies. I actually enjoyed that little bit of, I don't want to say normalcy, but that little bit of what her life is like outside the rebellion. I enjoyed that a great deal, actually. Like the dinner scene, I I enjoyed that more than I thought I would when it started.
Yeah, yeah, I really dig her part, and just because you sort of come full circle with it all the way. Like if you've read the expanded universe stuff, then she plays a pivotal part past Return of the Jedi in both Legends and canon. But even like if we're just sticking to the films, like Mon Mothma, Return of the Jedi, like it's such an integral moment, and she has an entire arc that's cut out of Revenge of the Sith. That if you haven't seen the deleted scenes, it's worth doing. It's a lot of this stuff in its beginning stages, and um, I thought that. I, I thought they did a really good job with her. It's also the is it Genevieve O'Reilly? I think that's who plays her.
Yes.
Uh,
hmm
she played her in Revenge of the Sith actually
Yep.
too. So
Mhm.
it was their second time taking on the character, and like she really did have a lot of material cut out of Revenge of the Sith. So even though none of it was released officially, other than as deleted scenes, like she did quite a bit as that character um, prior to this show. So I'm sure that helped a little bit. And I mean, Tony Gilroy is also a fantastic screenwriter. So, um, but the dynamic between Mon Mothma and oh man, I always forget her husband's name. Um,
I mean,
but
asshole works.
yeah, the dynamic between those two, and even the daughter is quite comical.
Yeah. Well, that's what I enjoyed about it. Was seeing that dynamic, and Mon Mothma. If you didn't, if you don't dive into like the books and the backstories and stuff like that, I imagine there were a lot of people who were like, "Wait, Mon Mothma has a family?"
Wait, she has personality?
Like you just you see one side of her in so much that it's like you actually get to peek behind the curtain, and it's like, oh, okay, there's actually a story here. There's actually a person here, and like I said, it was nice to see that.
Uh, so I guess just one, how did you feel about the show after episodes 4 and 5? Obviously, we know you really like 3, and I think they're all much better than 1 and 2. 1 and 2 was just not the
Oh,
right
for
way to
sure.
start the show, in my opinion. Um, but what were your just general thoughts on 4 and 5? Was it able to keep you invested? And uh, you gotta tell us about the Luthen transformation. That's something everybody talks about when it comes to the show.
It definitely, I don't want to say dipped after three. Like three was a peak, but it did come back down a bit. There was, a lot of, I don't want to say more of, new verse, same as the first, sort of, in the story. And,
Oh, they definitely let the acting carry the last
oh, they
two
did.
episodes.
They absolutely did. There was, you know, uh, to say that, like I said, three was a peak, and these two came back down. But you sort of need that. Like you do need, like I said, you need your peaks and your valleys, and you need that. We got a bit more of the side, like I said, the side of the rebellion we don't see. Rebellion begging for money, sort of thing. We don't really see that side ever. Like that, and that was better. I
What do you
enjoyed
know? Rebellions cost money. Who would have thunk it?
that. Yeah. I sort of enjoyed the little interplay with Cassian and realizing that this heist crew doesn't really have a plan was very much like, what? You don't know what you're doing. I enjoyed that. Um, it was nice to see. I didn't really like the emphasis on the kyber crystal portion of it. That was more like, you don't need this right now. This isn't the time or place for that. I was I don't know. It didn't really do it for me so much. Um,
Also from the
yeah.
place in Knights of the Old Republic, Rakata Prime.
Oh yeah. Um, like I said, overall they were not as what I expected. But like you mentioned the Luthen thing, like I enjoyed it. I loved seeing the double sided coin, you know, part of that character. Like you get this image in the first three episodes of this person, and it's nothing at all the person you see in 4 and 5, and I love that. Because it played up the rebellion, the secrecy of the rebellion. That someone who is sort of at these depths of the planning and execution of this part of the rebellion is, superhero by night, and runs a gallery by day. Like I did not see that coming. I didn't see any of that, and seeing the way he was sort of able to slip between, almost sort of between persona, even within that, like his interactions with Mon Mothma when they were sort of away from everybody else versus when they were in hearing distance of other people. I loved it. I loved the way he was able to flip the switch back and forth so easily that you could see the depth. Um, you could see the depth of the performance. And again, that's a testament. That is the moment where sort of the Tony Gilroy writing stood out in that sort of conversational sense. Because you got to see that. Wait a minute, hold on, what? This guy's, like I'm expecting he's going to be, some. I'm not expecting that. I'm expecting he's going to be someone that like runs a cantina or something in the Undercity, not being the guy who runs a premier upper city gallery that's frequented by members of the Galactic Senate. I did not see that coming. That caught me off guard to the point where I actually had to double check. I actually had to look at the screen and be like, wait, that's still what is, I loved it. I thought it was
Yeah, it's
great.
fantastic. It just adds such a unique dynamic to the show.
Mhm.
That
And the character.
for sure, 100%. Skarsgård definitely had lots of meat on the bone for this role, and same with Mon Mothma in the
Mhm.
show too. So There's a bunch of other great performances, but we'll get to it. Let's. Are we all good at 2:33 here? Do we all have it set to 2:33?
It's about as close as I can get to it on my phone. So
Let me know when you're good, Johnny.
I'm good.
And to answer Jerry's question, Palpatine was just arrogant. He didn't matter who the threat was. Palpatine was like, whatever. I'll take care of him if I really need to. He was
Yeah,
he was more sending Vader out to really take care of that stuff if he felt there was a big enough threat.
Yeah, the novels do a good job of covering that stuff. The one I'm on right now, Reign of the Empire, dives into it, and yes, they snuff her out. Is like early as a month after Revenge of the Sith, and it does not go well for her. We're talking full on torture and then some.
Palpatine is so arrogant, he's not afraid of anyone. Because he thinks he's already, he thinks Anakin is the only one who can defeat him. And he's got him so far under his thumb, he's not worried about a damn thing.
Sorry, guys. It's been a nightmare over here tonight. Dog's now freaking out because the cat was being bad. Without further ado, though, let's dive into this. We'll go on go, counting down from 3. Andor, Season 1, Episode 6, The Eye. I know this, for a lot of people, is their favorite episode in the series. It's definitely top 3 for me. Let's see if Andor can continue to win Johnny over. Oh, we're going, by the way. Should have mentioned that. And why don't we stop and get queued up again? I'm going to stop at 250. Make that 258. Okay, so when we all get to 258, we'll stop, get queued up. Trying to focus. Things are distracting over here.
Right.
What does Terrence think? I don't know if Terrence will let you know what he thinks, but Kieran's supposed to be around for our Andor 2 coverage, so I don't know how many episodes, but he'll be popping in. So, not that those two people have anything to do with one another. All right, we all get at 258. Let's try this again. See if I can not screw this up. 3, 2, 1, go. I like this kid.
He makes great points.
I know it's a small thing for some people, but it's nice to see some actual sets and not a small soundstage.
I agree. It definitely one of the nice things about this series was the cinematography and the fact that they took the time to actually build some sets and let us just get immersed in the world, which is always a nice thing.
These guys are such fucking snobs.
I mean, they're Imperials. What did you expect? I mean, just from the start of A New Hope all the way through everything they've ever put out, Imperials are always snobbish in some way, shape, or form.
Or they're part of the rebellion.
Yeah,
That's really
they
how you
did.
can figure out if they're a rebel spy or not.
They did a good job making those two very unlikable. This kind of reminds me of that Harrison Ford movie you and I watched a long time ago with was it Robert Shaw that was in it? And oh my God,
Yeah,
Carl.
Carl Weathers.
Yeah,
Great memories watching that movie.
this is fucking awesome. Johnny will see it more, but yeah, this would have been a good episode to see on the big screen. I had a good look at her. Believe me, patience wasn't the first thing to come to mind. There's dialogue you don't hear in Star Wars very much.
I like how it's dialogue that's just added to just kind of give you an idea of just the scumminess of just Imperials in general. It's stuff like you said, it's stuff you don't normally hear, but clearly it's stuff that happens, and that's one of the reasons I think I really like this series is they showed you a side of the Empire you never got to really see in any of the movies or a lot of the TV shows because they just didn't want to go there with it.
Been there before, buddy.
I mean, probably not wrong, but this is also like the case of like, Bane talking to Batman, victory has defeated you. And in this case, that's kind of how this looks.
Jerry, this show's about 15 years after, 14, 15 years after Revenge of the Sith. We're much closer to A New Hope at this point in time, about 5 years out from it. Would you be shitting yourself yet? I'd be shitting myself. I'd be gonna have to do this another day.
The amount of stress, yeah, that would be. I don't know if I could do it either. I'll be honest.
Yeah, Jerry, that wouldn't be a very good place to be.
Kind of wish I knew what they were saying when they threw the pelt in the fire, like "fuck the empire" or something like that. That'd have been cool.
Probably not far off. Get the fuck out of here before you screw things up. She was good in Game of Thrones, just as good in this. Although I fucking hated her character in Game of Thrones. So,
And in the end, she got what she deserved.
damn right. Kind of feels a bit like a Chris Nolan movie.
I can see that for sure. I just like how the intensity just keeps building up to like, even though like since we've seen the season before, we obviously we know what happens, but just still second watch through and it's still just as tense as the first watch through.
Since when are AK-47s standard issue in Star Wars?
Don't worry, we don't get our first Star Wars orgy, although you might think it was coming. Star Wars version of the Italian Job or Ocean's 11 or one of those type of deals. You're muted if you were saying something there, Johnny.
No, just shaking my head. I believe you were told to hang on.
Understatement. You ever hate those missions in Rogue Squadron where you gotta protect the fucking convoy from the TIE fighters?
Convoy
Well,
missions
this is
suck.
that without the protection.
Convoy missions in general suck. So do delivery
Yeah.
missions. That's what this is. This is just a delivery mission. This is the Grand Theft Auto mission where you're stealing the expensive car and you can't get hit on the way to your target. For the amount of Imperial pilots lost to just running into things, you'd think obstacle course training would be part of the pilots program.
You would definitely think. But
That was a cool shot. Oh, the Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, same species as I forget the character's name. The one they're looking for, but don't find him till he's dead.
I remember my first watch through thinking that Andor was gonna do what he does, but then it was nice to be rewarded to show that he still had some humanity left. Obviously, as we know, when we get to Rogue One, a lot of that humanity's gone, but it's just a nice reminder that he still remembers those who. I mean, this kid definitely earned getting fixed up. I think it was kind of a dick move for her to be like, let's just leave him. He's gonna die.
It's the most Cassian thing I've seen Cassian do this whole series.
You're not wrong. But at least in this case, it was definitely for more of the right reasons than what we've seen in previous things Cassian's done.
It's not what you think either.
Oh, surprise me.
I'll give you 30,000 credits for the ship in the barn. That's twice what it's worth.
Excuse me. Where's Skeen? Skeen? Skeen?
He's dead. He wanted to take the money and leave you here.
He wouldn't do that.
You're gonna have to think about that.
You disgusting bastard.
You might want to mute.
Taking
My bad.
That's not how languages work.
That character flip there. I mean, like instantaneously from businessman to just overjoyed by what happened. I mean, that's just amazing.
Andor, season 1, episode 6, in the books. The Eye, I think for obvious reasons there, the end, or I guess not really the end sequence, but the big battle sequence would have been fun to see on the big screen when they're in the chase mode there through the Eye. Johnny, what do you think? Episode 6.
I There were parts I liked. There were parts I didn't like. I liked seeing sort of the dichotomy of Andor. Seeing his um, I don't want to say faithfulness to the cause because he doesn't have that yet. He hasn't bought in, but you see sort of that approach building that he is still a man of principle. You know, he could have easily split it and just walked away, but he didn't. He still did what was right. Both in taking him to the doctor and not, you know, taking the spoils. But there were definitely like other parts of the heist and the plan that I didn't really like. I didn't the, the Imperial picking up like all of that, picking up the signal and hearing it and getting involved with it. I would have rather that be accidental than on purpose, because then it fits more of um the chaos of the moment. Like, you weren't prepared for this, they weren't planning for this. Like, an Imperial hears that, they're not coming alone. Like, they're rounding up troops on the way there if that's their goal. Like, it would have been a much larger reaction immediately than what we got. And it just, that part sort of was like okay, but a high standard. It's pretty standard for it to go haywire and end up in a shooting match. But I'm gonna be honest, that AK-47 she was carrying did more to damage my whole interest in this sequence than anything, because that's not a Star Wars gun. Like, I look at it and I don't see Star Wars.
Oh, I agree with that. And it does look like an AK-47, but I can also guarantee if we had like a picture of the gun itself, we would know that it's not an AK-47 and just something that resembles it. But that
It
was one of
resembles it too
my
closely.
agreed.
Is the problem. Like,
I do think there's a few instances in some newer Star Wars material, a couple times in Mando recently too, where um not recently, but the last season they did, where it's like, okay, these guns are starting to feel a little bit too Call of Duty-ish.
exactly. Like, that sort of took me out of it, because it sort of took me out of what I was looking at, what was going on around it, and you know what I mean? Like, in a Star Wars sequence, the gun, blaster, weapon being held by a character should not be the thing I'm taking note of. You know, there was so much other stuff happening and going on in those sequences that I spent way too much time thinking about that gun than I did what was going on. That was extremely detrimental. Um, I it was better than had sort of hoped it would be, but still not, as exciting as I hoped it would be, if that makes sense. Like, it was better than I expected, but still, you know, I still don't know how, like, it feels like the story would have been pushed more forward in other ways than the gunfight at the OK Corral here. Like, it's sort of like you needed that action piece to justify certain assets. I think they had sort of their cause was equally as pushed forward by the Commandant having a heart attack and dying. Like, you don't need the gunfight after that happens, because the Empire has their cause for uh, you know reaction, which I think fits them better and fits sort of um the stories we hear, like in Rogue One, where the Empire had never been beaten. They just lost. They just lost an ass ton of money. An entire garrison's pay was just stolen out from their fingertips. A commandant was killed. Soldiers, members of the Imperial Army, are dead at the hands of rebels. That's a victory.
I feel like you're reaching at this point.
It's more like
Remember, at the end of it was the quarterly payroll for one sector in the entire
quarterly payroll for one.
for one sector, and you know damn well how vast that galaxy map is. So it's a drop in the bucket for them, really. It's not their big win in terms of the Death Star plans.
Also, I think if Skeen hadn't fired the first shot, I don't think it ends up in a bloodbath like that. I think the guy comes down and checks on the Commandant, and
But
they get away.
I think that's the thing. Like, it serves the story better for me in what they're trying to make this series, sort of. It doesn't need to be about the combat. If you have the Commandant go down and do all that, you still end up in the same place without the gunfight at the OK Corral.
Well, and I think that it was more speaking to his character rather than trying to set off a gunfight or just letting them check on the Commandant. I think what it did is just showed, and of course, obviously later we get to see Skeen for who he really is, and is a bigger scumbag than Cassian ever could have possibly been. Even though Cassian did questionable things, we all know that he does have that code within him. Yeah. And I feel like Nemec was kind of starting to get to Cassian a little bit, and I think that's why he ultimately chose to take him to get help.
For sure. Absolutely. I mean, and it's also fairly certain to me that, that manifesto is what's going to sell Cassian on the rebellion. It's not so much the actions of Luthen or this group of people. It's going to be that manifesto. He's going to be able to feel at least some degree responsible for their death. He's going to read the manifesto, and it's, I don't know. And again, this is just me predicting because, like I said, I have not seen this, so I don't know if anything I'm saying is factual or not. And we'll find out over the course of the next few weeks if it is or not. But that's my take right now: is that manifesto is the most significant part of that sequence, of that escape and everything. And I think you can get there without the gunfight, which just felt, it felt like this is one of those instances where, I, again, no proof to be it or not, but this is one of those things where it feels like a studio executive was reading the scripts and said, what would go good here? A battle. We need to spice this up a little bit. And this is what we got. I just, yeah, we're at the quarter point. Why we're actually at the halfway point now, but it just, I don't know. It felt unnecessary with everything going on around it to have a gunfight of that magnitude there.
Well, I think the idea was to have some real weight, some stakes to it, not just for the idea of having a gunfight, but to lose people that were that Cassian started to, grow close to. I think it's all to help push his character in a certain direction. Even though, yeah, it could be, you could have gone without it, but those losses, and then to have Skeen try to, force him to leave them there and take the money and run, when really he was just in it for what he was owed. It's this is just character building, and I think that's kind of why they felt the need to throw that gunfight in there. I will say, the shot of them just getting off the planet, going through the eye, was just as gorgeous as I remember it. It's such a cool ass scene.
It was definitely very aesthetically pleasing in all of that. So that was definitely a good part. The chase and escape that way. That was good. But, I think you still could have had the same ends without the full-fledged gunfight. I think the Commandant having the heart attack and dropping dead was sort of all the chaos you needed, I think, in that moment. And the gunfight didn't really add much, because even with that, all it did was eliminate the one guy. You can tell I'm not invested. I'm horrible with these names, mostly because these guys have only been in 2 episodes. But you lose him. The incident inside the ship is still going to happen no matter what. You're still going to have the Namek issue. He's still going to end up dead because of that. I just don't know. The gunfight just felt unnecessarily heavy-handed in the moment to me. I don't know. I mean, that's just me, But I think my being sort of stepped out and removed from the story, I can, I am more critical of it because it hasn't hooked me. And that's the thing. It's good. It's better than I thought. It's better than the first 2 episodes made me think it was. I'll openly admit that had I watched it at the time, I still wouldn't have been hooked, but I would have at least stuck around and watched it then instead of waiting until now, just because it's at least some there's enough interesting elements that I'd have watched it, not fully been gung-ho about it, but still enough enjoyment. I'm having fun watching it. I don't know if that's because of the way we're doing it, or having these conversations while we're doing it and all of that. Yeah, that helps. That absolutely helps. But is what it is. Maybe we'll get to the second season and watching it live and being able to talk about it with you guys. And the different format in the drops might help more. Getting 3 episodes every week. Maybe that's sort of the thing. Like, maybe if they'd have done 3 episodes the first time around, I would have at least stuck around. So I don't know. It is what it is. It's fun. It's enjoyable. But it's not a world beater.
Randy, any thoughts?
I think just remember, Johnny. Obviously, yes, this is a lot of Cassian's backstory, but we're learning so much about Mon Mothma as
Oh,
well,
for sure.
and the birth of the rebellion. And I think it's just as much important as that takeaway as it is learning about Cassian, because I think one of the things I'm excited for with season 2 is we get to see him actually acquire K2SO, which is going to be great. So Alan Tudyk back, I mean, that's going to be awesome. But also from what I read, there's an article out there, I can't remember what it was from, but talk about potentially bringing an event from Rebels into live action in season 2 of Andor. So
Yeah,
that's
I think
another
we've
thing
talked
that's going
about
to
it on the
be.
main show, haven't we?
I think so. I don't know how in depth it was, but I think that's going to be kind of cool too. I'm also just excited
The
about the
event
idea.
was actually referenced in this episode we just watched. It's what Mon Mothma's talking about in the Senate. Not that it's happened yet, but it's the
Right.
precursor.
Yeah, it's really this when I first watched this season 1, it was so eye-opening because I never fully grasped just how much of the bastards that the Empire was, because we never got to see the down and dirty, and that's one of the things I really do like about this series.
So blowing up a planet full of innocent people wasn't enough for you?
I mean, that was just Tarkin. I mean, granted, Palpatine never would have cared regardless, but it's just the idea of seeing just how far gone they really are. Like, just the things you would normally wouldn't see because, George is like, well, this is for kids. Whereas this show is for adults who can handle the darker side of things. So I think the rest of the way, I think you're going to enjoy it. There's going to be some surprises for you, and some characters that you're just going to be like, wow, that's so well done. That, yeah, it's still upset about some of these characters from season 1, but we'll get there.
Yeah, so there's no Andor watch party next week. It's the week after, and that'll be episode 10. So we have 7, 8, and 9 to get through before then. And then the week after that will be an episode 12 watch party, which will catch us up in time for the new season. Let us know in the comment section down below what you thought of Andor episode 1, season 6. Sorry, episode 6, season 1, The Eye. Let us know what you thought. Like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications to all. Thanks to Randy and Johnny for doing this. That's going to do it for us tonight. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you next week.